The National Dialogue on Coalition Governments is being held at the University of the Western Cape. President Cyril Ramaphosa has opted to miss the National Dialogue, which is meant to develop a framework to stabilize coalitions before next year's elections. The two largest political parties in South Africa, the ANC and the DA, agree that electoral thresholds should be taken into account when forming coalition governments, while smaller opposition parties argued that this restricts them from participating in democracy. UDM leader Bantu Holomisa says he is unimpressed with the coalition's draft bill, which was drafted by the government long before the dialogue. He joins us now to tell us more on this. Bantu Holomisa, thank you very much for your time. You've since written to the Deputy President of South Africa, Paul Mashatile, and you raised concern to say it would appear that all the participants in this national dialogue are made to participate in a process that has a foregone conclusion. How so?
Yes, we started very well yesterday in the workshop. A number of issues were raised which we commonly agreed upon, such as the need to insulate the public servants from political heads, in the sense that whether there's no administration or political heads, the administration must continue to provide services to the people. But in the afternoon, we were taken aback when the minister, Deputy Minister of Culture, Abstow, told us that there is a bill already, a draft bill, which says the thresholds will be from 1% up. Below that, nobody will qualify. And I stood up and said, but why did you not inform us? Because that draft bill should have been published even before we went there. What was the point of wasting money and calling us here, yet you know that you just want us to rubber stamp this process? It would appear when we saw, if you follow the news, only DA and ANC are obsessed with these thresholds by saying the small parties must go. It becomes worse from the parties which have already registered with IEC, but who will be participating for the first time in 2024. And the independents as well. It looks like the whole aim is to eliminate those parties. Then we said on that score, the UDM will not participate any further until perhaps this thing of the bill is tabled and published. There was not even a green or white paper for that matter. So it looks like these fellows are panicking beyond comprehension and wanted to use some of us and bring this bill through the back door. They will not get that luxury from us.
What then is the UDM's position on thresholds?
The UDM is saying, why do you introduce thresholds after the big parties have messed up the local government? It's them who were using small parties to be mayors and all sorts of things. Now when there are chaos, there are problems in their municipalities, they don't want to take the blame. So I said to them in the meeting that there is no way that the UDM will allow or participate in a process where we are legislating against small parties. So the small parties, people should know, even Tulima Donsela, Professor Tulima Donsela, who was in the session, will confirm that had it not been for small parties, you wouldn't have had a state of capture commission of inquiry headed by Zondo Commission. The so-called big party, a big party, once told us in this country that a swimming pool can be a fire pool when they were defending a scandal of misusing state resources. So there's no way, therefore, that we can be part of this mess.
This bill developed around coalition governments, which you accuse the ANC of trying to push through the back door and wanting to use smaller parties to do that. What then happens if it goes ahead? We understand its work is going to be taking place for the duration of the year, but what happens if it is adopted without your participation?
Well, the bill, for your information, would have to follow the procedures. It will go to Parliament and it's debated. But for now, the mere fact that they didn't tell us that they have a bill already and they have concluded, so they can bulldoze it even to Parliament. But we have a right, I'm sure other parties will resort to that, that we would ask for a judicial review. It's not the end of the story. That would not be the end of the story.
Okay. Okay. You've also raised another issue, and the issue of taking a look at the entire electoral system, and you ask, why not look at it, the entire electoral system, and you cite something as simple as the appointment of some service providers of the Independent Electoral Commission, which remain a state secret. What does that mean?
I did raise this in the commission, in the meeting, to the fact that instead of isolating or choosing certain parts of the electoral system, why don't we just look overall in the question on the question of IEC or Electoral Act, such as accommodating the other parties, like we introduce a constituency-based system, and mixed system is already there. I mean, the proportional system is already there. But why can't we include, for instance, the constituency-based, so that you improve the accountability, and people should also select their own president direct, and that the IEC Composition Commission must be looked into. In 1994, the composition of the IEC Commission was a representative of various political parties, but currently it's only the ANC members who are running our elections. Some of the commissioners, we know they know that. We know each other. We're together in the trenches. And then if you go to the presiding officers, it's members of the Tripartite Alliance. So this whole thing is not fair.
In your presentation, you also put it to the meeting that this event is a prime example, and I read, showing that it is possible to bring key role players under one roof to discuss issues of national importance. Thus, it could also be to discuss the United Democratic Movement's concept of an economic indaba-CODESA, and perhaps, Mr. President, it could be done at any time soon, as this is the bone of contention, which, as we all know, that at CODESA we did not deal with the thorny issue. We dealt with political freedom, thinking that economic freedom would follow. Alas, 29 years later, we are found wanting. This is an issue that the UDM, rather, is willing to take. How far? How far are you willing to take this particular issue?
Well, we have been raising this issue from 1999. But I was merely saying the mere fact that they can call us under one roof, just to look at the issue of coalitions and thresholds and so on. That means we can look at other priority matters, because what they called us for is not a priority. The coalition, if you want to stabilize coalition, current, the DA and ANC are the two parties which have been given most votes by the voters. They should just form a grand coalition and run these municipalities and stop using small parties. And then when things don't go right, then they play small parties. So that is not a priority for us. The priority is still the issue of the economy. And the economy, you want to touch the economy without touching land and property. So it's important, therefore, that if we can manage to assemble people under one roof in the manner in which they did yesterday, then we can do so in looking into the economy and crime. Those are the key issues, not what they called us for yesterday.
Bantu Holomisa, thank you very much for your time this morning. Bantu Holomisa leads the UDM.